So, yesterday I did a video talking about what if the Universal Monsters had like a tabletop game in the vein of Warhammer 40k. And in that video I talked about if that video did well enough, maybe I'll do... because I had another idea for a Disney one too. So I figured, what the hell, the video did well enough, so... and also Disney gets a lot of views because it's Disney. So I decided, what the hell, I will do this as its own video now. So here we are. What if Disney had their own Warhammer game? So here we are. Now, keep in mind, I know what you're going to say, but Disney kind of already has that with a Star Wars edition. Like, there's a Star Wars type game that they have already. Well, the thing of it is that if you know Disney, they like money. Like, a lot of money. And if Lorcana has taught us anything, is that they are willing to get their hands in any type of games. So they might look at Games Workshop and see how well 40k is doing, and be like, we can do that. We can do that too and make money because, you know, we can milk the nostalgia factor and do something cool with it. So this is basically a hypothetical idea for... So what would it be like? And this would probably, and I think this is the best idea for them to do a Warhammer type game. If they were to do a Warhammer type tabletop game, this would be their best option. Because the idea of them having their heroes fight each other, I don't think anyone would want that. Also, you really have to like jump through the hoops to talk. And while some people do have built-in armies, like you can make the argument Aladdin and Jasmine have a built-in army with Agrabah. You have that with Elsa and whatnot because they have Arendelle. Not every hero in Disney has their own, like, army. Or you can feasibly have, like, their own faction. But there is another side of that where you can have armies and make up new units and also have built-in armies and also have a major fan base behind it. The Disney villains. So here's my idea. A Disney Warhammer type tabletop game all about the Disney villains. So let's talk about that. Goddamn chair, I swear to God. So let's talk about that. Like, what would it be like if Disney made their own tabletop game with the Disney villains? What Disney villains would they have? What units would they have? And maybe talk about what would they be like. So let's get into the story of it. The story is that basically what has happened is that there is a cataclysm. Like, I don't know, call it something dumb, like, I don't know, the Dark Cataclysm or something, that has basically cracked reality. It has cracked the walls between the worlds, and it is basically shredded into, it, like, caused several worlds to, like, merge into one. But the thing of it is, only the villains were taken. So, like, this cataclysm caused the villains to be pulled from their world and chunks of their world and then thrown into, like, this kind of battle world. So now all the villains are kind of stuck on one planet with, like, patchwork of their own reality, and the only thing they can do is fight over who gets to rule this new world rather than, you know, do something productive like try to figure out a way out of here. Although I would have backstory that some of the villains are doing that, but really, some of them are like, well, we're here, we're gonna fuck them up. You know, might as well take over, you know, this new kingdom and be like the ultimate villain. Hell, that could be the title, the ultimate villain, or so, I don't fucking know. I'll let Disney's marketing handle that shit. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Where was I? So let's talk about some factions. Now, obviously, for a game like this, you wouldn't have although you probably, knowing Disney and wanting to keep relevance if this does well, they probably do expansion sets with each new additions and have a new army and make it probably so big that you would spend so much money that even Warhammer would go like, dude, stop. Dude, you gotta stop. So, so what would be the core factions of this? Like, what would be the core factions you would have in, like, I don't know, the first edition of this game? Well, you gotta have Maleficent. You have to have Maleficent in this. She's the most iconic Disney villain. The queen of Disney villains. So it would obviously make sense to have Maleficent as one of the main factions. Now, with Maleficent, you would definitely have her. You would probably have her dragon form, which would be like a giant, just massive tank. Not like an actual tank, I mean like just tanking opponents. You would also have her army, like basic infantry and artillery, be like her minions, and maybe even add some cool stuff, like maybe like swarms of ravens or bats. Have like a special ability to like create walls of thorns. Maybe even have I would say like other dark mages to like act as like kind of like the psychers in the Imperium of Man. So yeah, like have like apprentice magicians or like dark witches of their own, like fallen fair folk who serve her or something like that. So there's your Maleficent army. Let's talk about the next person on this list, and I think I'm going to have like for this in this scenario. Really, there's only in the first edition. There's only going to be like 7 factions starting factions in this story. So our second one is Captain Hook. Captain Hook would be our kind of like play like the Tau, where it'd be more artillery based. You would have big pirate ships. You would have vehicles that would be like pirate boats, or kind of like these wooden like they've stolen like stuff from Neverland, and now they have like they have forged like these wood golem things or something. Even have the crocodile in your army. Obviously you'd have Captain Hook and Shmi, but also like your pirates. You'd have cannons. Like I said, this army would be more artillery and long range based. So if you like playing Tau, here you go, but with pirates. If you want to just broadside the asshole on the other end of the board, here's your army. So there's Captain Hook. Next up on that list is Hades. Obviously, you get Hades and Pain and Panic, but you'd also have for like these massive units, the Titans. Definitely, like you would have to have the Titans in this story, in this thing, right? You would have to have like the Earth Titan, the Ice Titan, the Wind Titan as like your giant units. Just tearing through the infantry. Maybe even other, like you'd have to have Cerberus too. Like Cerberus would be another one. Maybe even the Fates. I would say like for infantry units and special units like demons from the underworld. I would even say like damned souls as like your basic infantry, and use them like the Tyranids or the zombies from the vampire hordes, and just swarm your opponents. There you go. There's your idea for Hades. So there's Hades. Our next one would be the Horned King. The Horned King would be kind of like Hades, but like it would also work like the Grave Lords from Warhammer, where it's like a lot of undead. Like you'd have the undead, and the Black Cauldron as like a special weapon to use. Have Creeper, the Horned King himself. Some some dragons in your support units, maybe even some dark demons or something. There you go. And also I know there's the Horned King gets a lot of love, even though the movie almost killed Disney animation. But still, if you say the Horned King is in this game, people will buy this more than Maleficent or Hades probably. Although that may be contentious with Hades, but if you say, "Hey, we're doing a Warhammer Fantasy type tabletop game, and one of the factions you can play is the Horned King," I guarantee you, people will be like, "Take my motherfucking money." So there's faction number 4. Our next one's a little more fun because this is Disney. So faction number 5 is Prince John from Robin Hood. Why? Because again, this is Disney and we have a little fun here. So, Prince John would be a lot of fun because he would be more like, he would have like a lot of cavalry units, probably play like Bretonnia because Bretonnia sucks. I said what I said. A lot of cavalry units, a lot of like foot soldiers, maybe even have, obviously have the Sheriff of Nottingham as another important unit to the army. I can't remember the snake's... What was the snake's name? I can't remember, but him. Have him there. Again, why... we're having all these almost borderline serious villains. You might as well have some fun with having Prince John here. So, Prince John is our 5th army. Next up is Shan Yu. Shan Yu, like, if you're gonna have a tabletop game, you gotta have a guy who had an active army conquering, most of China. So we're talking heavy cavalry in this army. Like, this would be a bulk of it, is heavy cavalry, heavy artillery, heavy infantry. This army is, I would kind of imagine this would play like, I kind of imagine this is the army if you want to beat someone to death with, like the orcs. Here's your, Shan Yu and the Huns are your army. There you go. So there's army number 6. And our 7th faction, the 7th faction in this army is a bit of an interesting one, because the 7th faction in this army would be one who didn't really have an army per se, but it would be kind of fun to play with. And that is Dr. Facilier from, of course, Princess and the Frog. Dr. Facilier would be a lot of fun to have, because this would be your dark, like, using voodoo. You could have the friends on the other side as support units. You could have, like, other voodoo practitioners who serve him. You could even have this, like, a cool faction like Damballa as like a being you can create, like another support, like heavy support unit in your arsenal. Now, another thing I would have in this game is what I'd call mercenaries. Mercenaries are hero units like Maleficent, or quote-unquote hero units, or should I say commander units like... There you go, there's the better word for it. Commander units like Hades, Maleficent, and all that. But I would have these mercenary units who would be other villains you could put in your army randomly. Basically having the lore that some other, like, lesser villains got put in this universe and now serve different factions. So those would be like Gaston. That would be, I would say, Gaston would be one. Yeah, Cruella would be one. Horus and what's the other guy's name? Those two. I would even say Shere Khan, as those would be mercenary units you can put in your army for extra morale or things like that. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much a Disney villain tabletop game. You guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I don't really have an idea for another one. This was just kind of one. It was Universal Monsters and Disney villains. That was it. But yeah. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse. Real quick before I go, actually, I want to bring up one more thing I'd like to have. If there was, like, expansion editions, because, again, Disney loves money, what would be, like, other armies I could see in the future? Obviously, you would have the Queen of Hearts. She comes with her own army. You could even have, like, some of the other characters from Alice in Wonderland serving under her, like the Cheshire Cat, even though I don't think he counts as a villain, but still. Chernabog would be another one. Although, would Chernabog... Well, then again, I mean, Magnus is a giant fucking figure, and he has the Thousand Sons. So, yeah. Chernabog would probably be a future faction with his demonic army. I would even say it would be kind of fun as like another mercenary unit. The Carnotaur from Dinosaur. Just to have a dinosaur in a random... like, you could have, like, Hades' army, and then out of nowhere you have a fucking dinosaur in the corner. There you go. For others, I would say, maybe as, like, another support... Scar. Scar would be part of the... And have just a ton of hyenas. And I imagine, like, Scar's army would be like the Tyranids, where you just have tons and tons of hyenas just swarming the enemy. Maybe even have, like, other animals, like snakes, vultures as your air support, and, like, some evil elephants or something like that on your side as, like, heavy tank units. Just kind of go wild with, pun not intended, wild with your army. For, like, others for future expansions, I would say maybe even, like, for Mercenary Clayton from Tarzan, I would also say, like, maybe bring in some of the... I know I went Disney movies, but if you want to do for future expansions and get real money, I would say bring in for future expansions, Bill Cipher, have the Henchmaniacs as his army. You could have it Andreas and Utopia as another faction. You could have... Toffee and the Monsters as another army from Star Versus. Go crazy with it. You expand more and more. Maybe even have Syndrome with Syndrome had his own private organization, so you could have him as a future expansion set. There you go. But yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below, like I said earlier, because I just decided to throw this on last minute. You guys tell me in the comments below, what would you have in this Disney villain tabletop game? And what kind of armies would you have? What units would you have? What factions would you want? Just comment below, let me know. And this time around, now I get to say, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.